Kaieteur Radio.
Hello, thank you for tuning into Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith and welcome to your news at noon. These are the top stories we're tracking. Liza, two financiers hire consultant to manage their affairs, will provide technical support to Japanese bank involved, and ExxonMobil must plan for a world that does not need its barrels, says engine number one. And another oil giant buckles under pressure from shareholders to shift to renewables. Meanwhile, Region 10 communities hit by severe flooding. Do stay tuned. And now for the news in detail. A group of unidentified lenders have hired a technical consultant to manage their affairs relating to the financing facility for Guyana's Liza Unity oil vessel, among other responsibilities. The vessel will be located in the ExxonMobil-led Liza Field 2 development in the Stabroek Block. The company, Crondell Energy's consultancy business, said it was awarded a contract to be the lender's technical consultant for the project financing of the Liza Unity. According to Crondell Energy, the scope of work also includes project management, process engineering, marine engineering, and a review of the project contracting framework. In other news, engine number one, the small hedge fund that successfully got two of its four nominees elected to ExxonMobil's board of directors this week, has indicated that it will be pressing management of the new oil giant to shift its output strategy. Engine number one had its challenge with attaining board seats. This was noted in its dissatisfaction with ExxonMobil's emissions output. Now, Charlie Penner, the leader of the campaign against ExxonMobil, said that the company will need to cut fossil fuel production. He went on to say that engine number one will give ExxonMobil time to develop a new strategy, but cautioned that one ought to be cognizant that the energy transition is happening faster than expected, thereby undermining Exxon's assumptions about long-term demand for its oil. At the end of the day, engine number one said, ExxonMobil, going forward, must plan for a world that does not need its barrels. And coming from BBC, oil and gas giant Total SA will be rebranded as Total Energies as it shifts some of its focus towards renewable energy sources. This comes on the heels of shareholders voting overwhelmingly in favor of the move and approving the firm's environmental goals. Total, the world's fourth largest privately owned oil and gas producer, is aiming to reach carbon neutrality by 2050, in part by investing in more solar and wind power projects. It should be noted that big energy firms are coming under increasing pressure to adjust to a lower carbon world. And now let's tell you, despite being a hilly area, several communities in Region 10 were hit by severe flooding yesterday. Some areas were under more than 10 feet of water. In fact, the Kwakwani Neighborhood Democratic Council was yesterday afternoon preparing to evacuate residents whose homes were completely flooded and inaccessible. In the Kwakwani waterfront Lamb Island areas, the water was as high as 12 feet. Vehicles and one-story homes were completely covered as well. The area up to press time was also completely inaccessible by road. The situation is also deemed to be one of major concern for the health of residents since waste from pit latrines have escaped into the water, thereby increasing the risk of waterborne diseases. Residents and Region 10 officials have since described this year's flooding as one of the worst experienced in recent years. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and of course 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. Coming up after the break, carpenter who robbed woman of $800 placed on $100,000 bail. Victim succumbs to gunshot wounds after being robbed of $400,000. And GRA security guard killed in Upper Quarantine accident. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. A carpenter who allegedly robbed a woman of $800 last May 13th at Alboystown, Georgetown, yesterday appeared in court and was placed on $100,000 bail for the offense. According to information, on the day of the robbery, the defendant, Keon Simon, was in the company of another and armed with a gun when he allegedly robbed Ronisha Tapin of $800. It is further alleged that moments after, he also robbed Leon Small of a motorcycle, a Honda XR valued $445,000, one silver chain valued $35,000, and one LG cell phone valued $100,000. Simon was placed on $100,000 bail for that offense, as well as a condition that he reports to the Rheinveld police station every Monday. Both matters were subsequently adjourned. Meanwhile, 40-year-old Ronald Omar Smith, a Trans-Guyana Airways employee, last evening succumbed while receiving medical attention after he was robbed and shot on Camp Street, Georgetown, moments after conducting business around the city. According to information, after Smith made a sale of some amount of gold, he placed $437,000 cash in his haversack. Around 16:25 on the western half of Camp Street between Church and Quamina Streets, Smith and his girlfriend were standing in front of the Impeccable Beauty Salon and Spa when two unidentifiable males rode up on a white XR motorcycle. The pillion rider got off and discharged 2 rounds at Smith. Smith collapsed, and the pillion rider proceeded to remove the victim's haversack, which contained the cash. The suspects then escaped north on Camp Street. The police have since arrested the driver who transported Smith around the city to conduct business moments before he was attacked and killed, as a manhunt has been launched to locate the 2 suspects. And now let's tell you, Norma Rose, a 41-year-old female security guard attached to GRA in Springlands, is now dead following an accident on the number 77 public road, Upper Quarantine, Berbice. Reports are that the incident occurred on Independence Day at approximately 21:30 and involved a motor vehicle that was driven by 32-year-old Danny Nanku. Nanku was proceeding at a fast rate when the left side of his car collided with Rose, who was standing on the eastern side of the road. This resulted in her being flung on top of the left side bonnet, then onto the parapet. Nanku fled the scene, but was later arrested. And on that note, let's tell you a 50-year-old man is now left nursing a chop wound to his hand after trying to fight off 3 armed bandits who invaded his home on Thursday. The taxi driver, whose name was not released to the police, was attacked by masked men dressed in dark clothing sometime around 21 hours at his Bush Lot Quarantine residence. The man claimed that one of them approached him, and placed his cutlass to his neck and demanded that he hand over all his belongings. He said he held on to the cutlass, and this caused a brief scuffle to ensue between him and the suspect, during which he was chopped. According to police, the fight caused the suspects to abort their mission, and the men made good their escape. None of the suspects has been apprehended, and investigation into the incident continues. At this time, we now head over to our COVID-19 update. The Ministry of Health yesterday announced that 4 persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died. Their deaths now bring Guyana's COVID-19 death toll to 380. Those who died are a 74-year-old woman from Region 3, Essequibo Islands, West Demerara, a 31-year-old woman and a 39-year-old man, both from Region 4, Demerara Mahaika, and a 68-year-old man from Region 10, Upper Demerara Berbice. 70 new COVID-19 cases were recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 16,724. 24 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU, 103 persons are in institutional isolation, 1,841 in home isolation, and 9 persons are quarantined institutionally. To date, 14,376 recoveries have been recorded. Before we wrap up today's news at noon, let's head over to page 7 of the Kaieteur News. The world is calling what happened at Exxon's annual meeting on May 26th, Guyana's independence anniversary, a stunning rebuke to management, shareholder revolt, and a warning to boards all over. We agree. The shareholders' rebuke and revolt was over Exxon's lackadaisical and dangerous attitude towards its climate change responsibilities. Now the senior management of the company is under siege, with top executives scrambling to stay afloat. We see this as a warning for Guyana's leaders. Like Exxon's leaders, they may think that they have the voters in their pockets, but they would be wise to study what happened to Darren Woods and Exxon. That was over climate change. The new directors are already saying that Exxon should slow down production. In Guyana, our people are unhappy about something closer to their hearts: money and prosperity, their future and their children's future. There could be a voter revolt here, no matter how far-fetched that sounds. After all, it is the livelihood of the Guyanese people and their wealth that is involved. Exxon's executives didn't listen or act. Now they have lost control. Guyanese leaders had better pay attention. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
It is now 12 hours 33. Coming up next, an excerpt from the Glenn Hall Show, Tell It As It Is.
Tell her, on behalf of all of us here at Kaieteur News, a huge thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I know some of you would also like to express the same sentiments.